Good evening. I'm Amy, and tonight's Live About Five is what is it like having Bell's palsy? This is something a lot of people want to ask, and they don't know how to. It's also something that you may be concerned about, or have experienced, or be experienced, or know somebody that's going through it. So I wanted to share, kind of in general, the highs and the lows and what it's like. And the first thing that you need to know is that not all Bell's palsy is created equal. Not even all facial paralysis is created equal. There are varying degrees. There's one side or the other. In the case of Bell's palsy, at least mine, my initial incident was complete paralysis. So I looked like I had had a massive stroke. The second time I got it was still bad, but not quite as bad. I've seen people who just know there's something wrong with their smile. They can't quite smile they want to, and that's the extent of their Bell's palsy. But facial paralysis in general is difficulty. It is hard. It keeps you from smiling, right? That's the first thing that comes off the top of my head. You don't blink because your eye is frozen open. Speaking might be difficult. Eating might be difficult. Sleeping can be a bit of a challenge. And in my case, and in many people's cases, there was quite a bit of pain. So just the general diagnosis of facial paralysis has its own challenges. But then you're adding on different layers. The second thing would be communication difficulties. I was always lucky to be able to be generally able to work around that. But I talk for a living, right? So if you've got somebody who's completely paralyzed on one side, you've spoken to someone maybe with a stroke, it's very difficult to enunciate. It's exhausting, to be honest, to try to speak clearly. It's an effort to eat. Things like pizza are almost nearly impossible because your ability to chew is kind of hindered, but communication could be a challenge. So if you know someone who's dealing with it, try to be patient with them, listen very closely, and honor the fact that that's an extra challenge. Next is self-esteem and body issues, especially as a woman. This hit me, but I also felt very strongly as a mom of young kids at the time that it was incumbent upon me to be grateful for the parts of my body that continue to work, right? And I always said, and I still believe, if I had to have half of a significant body function or part not work, my face is really the easiest one, right? It's not my right arm, it's not my right leg, it's not my hand. And so while it is hard on your self-esteem, I don't look like I used to look. It's also something that will remind you of the other parts of your body that do well. For some people, this is particularly debilitating. And to understand that they might be really going through a depression here is super important because you can get help for that. There are a lot of different treatments that you can get. One of the things I find with people who struggle with their self-esteem is that they will go to the ends of the earth with that treatment, to include surgery, to include Botox and things like that. What's hard is when those don't work or maybe are even counterindicated. So just know, yeah, they're going through something really physical, but it's impacted them mentally as well. Next is the emotional and psychological effects. It's psychologically very draining. There is no cause that's been identified. There is no cure that's been identified. There's no duration of the illness that's been identified. And there's no expectation for level of recovery. A lot of people recover well. Some people recover 95%. I would say I've recovered 75% if I don't have my wave watch on. If I've got my wave watch on, it's probably more like 95, which is a really big deal, life-changing deal. But psychologically wondering kind of what is that about? And in my case, I had an extra layer on that. And I've heard this from many people who have had Bell's palsy, is that in uncovering and testing what might be happening there, they felt that I might have had a brain tumor. I had an abnormal MRI. And so I had a conversation with a doctor that went something like, if you have trouble speaking or walking, you need to get to an emergency room right away. So you're already dealing with feeling quite low. You're already scared for your health. And for me, this first incident was 2017. So I had two little kids, a husband, and had just moved to Charlottesville. And thinking that I might be not around was devastating, absolutely devastating. And really, you try to keep a stiff upper lip and be really positive about it, but it is absolutely life-changing when you hear that news. I attribute my current successes and things that I have really achieved somewhat to that. The changes in my life that I made that were major would never have happened if I hadn't thought that my time was very limited. It's also resulted in some real sad things that I've lost. So there's a give and a take there, but mainly just know that the psychological impacts that people are dealing with are pretty serious, as they are with any illness. Fifth thing is eye problems. Because your eye freezes open, it doesn't get any lubrication. There's a lot to take care of. You have to sleep with it either taped shut or with an eye patch. You're wearing an eye patch out in public a lot, which is, if you're a pirate, great. If you're not great. And you have a hard time then afterwards with makeup, right? Even once you've gotten better recovered, it's still tricky and something you have to kind of stay on top of if you don't have full recovery the rest of your life. So I have much more regular eye checkups to make sure my eye health stays high. I take a supplement, Illuminize from Young Living, which helps me with any of my eye health, which I'm so grateful for. But it's something that's kind of a constant maintenance for me and many others. Next is pain and discomfort. And for me, that was electrifying and debilitating. The pain that I had was like an electrical shock because it's nerve pain, right? And so that's where really my Young Living came to bore for me. The ability to have those tools at my fingertips helped me manage my pain and get off of 6 prescriptions, one of which was gabapentin. Gabapentin, if you don't know, is often diagnosed for nerve issues. And for me, it was not a good drug to be on. It's very powerful. It's not got a lot of great side effects. You know, it'll list those side effects. And so being able to get off of that was really incredible for me. Pain management is going to be something that your friend or you with Bell's palsy are dealing with. And so just be patient knowing that they hurt a lot, maybe, and that hurt isn't necessarily constant, and it's certainly not visible to you, right? So that's one of the challenging things. Next is recovery and rehabilitation, because there's no timeline. There's no, we typically see this in studies, or because you're this old, it'll be this way. That recovery can be ongoing. I got Bell's palsy first in 2017. No, in 2022 and again in 2017. And I found my Wave Watch last year. And that's made the biggest leap in my recovery since 2017 when I started with Young Living, which helped me get healthy, which helped me detox my house. And I think that had a huge impact on my overall wellness. And last but not least is other people. I had people say the most outrageous things to me. And, you try to exhibit grace and move on well. But I had things from people thinking I was contagious to people commenting on how I used to be so pretty and what a horrible thing to happen to a pretty girl. Be thoughtful. If you have a friend who has any sort of disfigurement or challenge or paralysis, whatever it may be, just be thoughtful. There's no need to say, wow, you look really different. We know. We are completely in the loop. Nobody has to give us the 411. We're on top of it. But if you are somebody who has the opportunity to be normal and kind and thoughtful and think before you speak, I would encourage you to do it. It's important to know that different people have different experiences with Bell's palsy, but they all have one thing in common. Your friend or you are going through something really heavy. And that's why I help people who are going through Bell's palsy. I share what worked for me. And actually, in July, I'm going to be coming out with a short book that'll give people just a little bit of guidance as to what's worked for me so well over the years to share, because I didn't find that the resources that were available to me were extensive. So I wanted something like a normal person would say, right? I didn't want a study by a doctor when I was low and scary and tired. I needed my doctor to be my doctor, but I did want just another fellow human being to say, hey, you're going to be okay. And that's what I'm here to share with you. You're going to be okay. But here are some things that you might be navigating. I can't wait to see you back here tomorrow, live around 5. I hope you have an amazing night because you deserve it. I love you, and I'm so grateful for you being here. Mwah.